Hi there and welcome to NextCast Products Europe. Today we are out testing some lines and I have here Lene from Nordisk Fiskeutstyr. Welcome.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Is there any exciting news for the next season, 2023?
Yeah, well actually we do have some cool news for the next year. Probably all of you guys know the zone lines that has been a huge success for us. Well, next year they are coming as single pieces, coming in a full range from a full float up to a 6-8-10, and I've been so lucky, I've been testing them this summer, and yeah, well, you just need to be ready to get boys voiced. They are awesome. Also new for next year is that all our sinking lines will be with a PU coating, meaning they will have a higher durability. We have in the SLR Finder 40 and 45 single pieces, there will come a float sink 3, sink 6. That is a really good fishing line. So yeah, that's some of the news for next year.
So can you tell a bit about the NextCast zone?
Yeah, of course. Well, what is there not to tell about the NextCast zone? They have been a huge success for us and we have sold loads of them. Well, the thing with the NextCast zone is that you feel like you're casting a Scandi line, but it also is like a Skagit line. So it's what we call like a hybrid version. It's really easy to cast and it comes in a variety of different densities. It comes from a float up to the 5-7. You need to use a tip to manage to get the line to work, and we normally use 15-foot tips on them, at least from 500 grains and up. I prefer when I go lower than 450 grains. I tend to use a 12-foot tip. So I want the whole line to be a little bit shorter for the shorter rods. NextCast zone will be a line that is something between 10.5 meter up to 12.5 meter, 13 meters, depends on if you're using a 450 grain or a 600 grain, and also if you have a 15-foot tip or a 12-foot tip. So they are like perfect mid-range on the length, and not only do they cast extremely well, but they also are really good fishing lines. So yeah, go ahead also to our website and have a look.
Can you tell something about the SLR Finder 40?
Yeah, well, the SLR Finder 40 has been on the market for a really long time. This year we made it a little bit a new profile on it, so it's a bit more aggressive, not that aggressive as the zone lines, but yeah, really good fishing line. It's around 8.5, 8.8 meters, and then we prefer that you will use a 10-foot tip. You can also use a 12-foot tip if you want those extra long casts. They come from a float and up to also a sink 5-7, so we have a huge range. They tend to land a bit more, what can we say, no splashing at all on the water, so perfect also if you are on a bit low water conditions, for example. SLR Finder 40, they also come in single pieces, so that means there are lines where you can just go out and cast. You don't need any tips, no nothing. They comes from, we have float, hover, sink 1, float, hover, sink 3, hover 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 4, 6, and 4, 6, 8. So yeah, you have the whole range what you need. And yeah, especially the single pieces, I use them a lot. So yeah, test them.
And what about the SLR Finder 45?
SLR Finder 45 has also been on the market for a long time, also with a bit new profile this year. They are longer lines, so they are for the fisherman who wants to make a proper long spey cast, good for the big rivers. They come in all densities also, so you have from a full float up to 5-7. You can use a 10-foot tip on them. You can also extend them with a 12-foot tip, but then it will be 14.5 meters. So basically they are around 13 to 14 meters, depends on what class you're fishing, 8, 9, 9, 10, 10, 11. But yeah, for the guy who really wants to make a proper long cast, SLR Finder 45 also come in single pieces. and they have the same length then, so between 13 and 14 meters, and they come from a full flow, and they come all the way up to the 6810. But the 6810 is a bit special because that's a shorter one, and it only comes in class 1011 and 1112, and it's 12.5 meters. Because that heavy sinking line, it would not work very good if you have it 14-15 meters. So 12.5 meter is perfect. You can make a really long cast, but you still will manage to drag it up from the water, and it's, yeah. So the 6810, I use that on all my typical, for example, 1st of June fishing up in Norway. So yeah, a good sinking line.
Can you tell something about the NextCast core?
Yeah, well, the NextCast core is kind of a new thing for this year. Not exactly new, because the NextCast core 23 is basically built on the old NextCast Coastal, for those of you who knows that one. But Simen has redesigned the line a little bit, and he has also made a NextCast core 16. So the NextCast core 23, it stands for 23 feet, meaning that's like the length of the line, but that will also be a bit different, because if you have, for example, a 450 grains, it will be under 23 feet. If you have a 700 grains, it will probably around 25 feet. But yeah, those lines are for the person who wants to use, for example, really heavy T-tips. You can manage to use T18 with no problem at all. So really cool special lines. And the core 16 is extremely short. It's like 5 meters. So it's, when you put on a T14, T18 tip, you're in a tight position, for example, and yeah, it's just something that works, you know. And it also handles really heavy flies. So these are actually no big news. It's just they are with a new name and a small redesign. So NextCast has had those lines for a long time, actually. So I've been fishing them this summer, and yeah, if you want to have some really heavy sinking line fishing, for example, well, there you have it.
Yeah, the next line, NextCast Trout Finder. Can you tell something about that?
Yeah, well, that's a new line for this year, and it was made for the trout spay. It comes from 225 grains, and we will have it in stock up to 300, 325. But I use it on single-handed rods for salmon fishing, 10'7", 10'8". It's just mind-blowing. I use them with a tip, a 10-foot tip, not too heavy. They come in a full float, they come in float sink 1, and also in 1-3. So go ahead, check our website, see the different densities, the different weights. Yeah,